With the news of Solitary coming back thanks to ITV and hearing about how Survivor contestant John Palyok was on the past season of Solitary, I had the crazy idea of watching his season of Solitary. I've already made one video detailing his short but fun journey on Survivor, and now it's time to continue on the journey of John Palyok with the second season of Solitary. So what is Solitary? Solitary was a reality show in the late 2000s on Fox that put several contestants in solitary confinement. They wouldn't be allowed to see or talk to each other, and would only be allowed to talk to Val, the AI computer friend that would accompany them. They had to do different tasks and treatments, which were their challenges, and the only way to leave Solitary was by quitting. It was supposed to be the ultimate test of human will to see how far humans could go when completely isolated and pushed to the limit. It's a pretty wild show. To fully understand the show, I did watch the first season of Solitary, and wow, I thought it was really good. One of my favorite things about Solitary is that each season includes an episode going through the behind the scenes process of how the show has developed its ideas for different challenges, as well as how they came up with the cast for the show. Getting to see all these rough ideas, audition clips, and interactions between the crew members is so interesting, and I wish so many other shows could do this type of thing. Solitary was extremely unique in everything it did pretty much, and it made for a great watch. So going into the second season, I knew what I was getting into. But of course, I was watching solely for John Palyok. How was it gonna go for him to go from Survivor Vanuatu 2 years prior to then Solitary 2.0? The first time JP appeared on screen already threw me for a whirlwind. JP's first ever appearance on screen consisted of him saying this.
I've got 4 different girls falling in love with me and I'm not in love with them.
I already knew just from this moment that this was going to be an incredible watch. And then when it came time for his introduction video package, he was comparing hunting to picking up women, and I just knew for sure this was going to be generational. Douches on reality TV are truly one of a kind, and I was now excited for what JP was going to do on this show. One of the other things about Solitary is that once they're inside, their identities are stripped from them and they no longer go by their name, but by the number of their pod. In this case, JP was now number 9, which is crazy because his season of Survivor was season 9, and 9 is actually my favorite number. It's like everything's aligned. But everybody in Solitary gets to learn like 2 things about the other contestants, and so Val revealed to everyone that JP was someone that had been on Survivor. For the remainder of his time on the show, everybody else was thinking that number 9 was this huge threat because it was somebody on Survivor, and meanwhile, it's just John Palyok from Survivor Vanuatu. That's what's so hilarious about this, is that they're all worried about this guy being from Survivor, and he was just the 3rd boot from his season. But ultimately, JP did actually prove to be a big threat, as he was hanging in there quite a bit in a lot of these tasks and treatments. On Survivor, JP was immediately pegged as a huge threat just because he was young and athletic, but I felt like on Solitary, he was actually able to show off these traits of being athletic and relentless. He did end up winning one of the tasks, this being in episode 8, meaning he was exempt from the next treatment. There was actually another time where he almost won one of the tasks, and when Val was giving him the news, she baited him by saying he was the first, and he immediately began celebrating like crazy. Then she confirmed he was the first to finish second, and that totally destroyed him. It was just hilarious watching him go from super hype to dismay, but again, this show just displayed so much more of JP's personality. Solitary was all about these people being alone, and while completely isolated and competing in grueling challenges, JP was showing off a lot. He was yelling and screaming all the time, and it was amazing. The thought of JP being a big threat never stopped though. As said before, for the remainder of his stay, everybody else in Solitary assumed he was a huge threat because he played Survivor before. In episode 3, Tyler, or number 7, was given the power to handicap somebody else in the next treatment, and he ended up choosing JP because he saw him as a threat. From this point onwards, JP and Tyler, or number 9 and number 7, had a season-long rivalry despite never seeing or speaking to each other, which was the really interesting thing about Solitary. For the next couple of treatments after this, JP would end up doing even more in these treatments just to stick it to number 7, as his hatred for number 7 grew more and more. But for me, the peak of JP in this comes in episode 5. In this episode, there was an auction that everybody could bid in due to having Valors, which was just Val's own currency, and JP ended up bidding on and winning a ton of stuff. He won a cheese pizza, a chocolate cake, and a muscle relaxer all for himself. However, some of the others also won the ability to do things such as put somebody else in the black box and have alarms go on for an hour straight. Of course, number 7 won both of these and gave both to JP, who had to endure this later on.
Welcome to Solitary 2.0. You, number 7!
Also, since number 3 and number 8 didn't spend any money in the auction at all, they were given the ability to take away someone else's rewards. They ended up taking away JP's cheese pizza and muscle relaxer, which only made JP more mad towards more people than just number 7, and it was hilarious watching this episode, seeing JP have all this stuff and then go back to having almost nothing because the rest of the cast was ganging up on him so much. JP just couldn't believe any of this was happening to him, but it was still war between JP and number 7. For whatever reason, when watching this, I had it in my mind that JP was going to win this. I literally based that off of nothing, but I just for some reason convinced myself JP was going to be the winner of Solitary 2.0. Unfortunately for me, that turned out to not be true. In episode 8, JP was given another handicap in the treatment for number 8, and all the spinning and not remembering the sequence of colors he was supposed to just got to be too much for him. He was really struggling and he had no other choice but to quit, and that was the end for JP in Solitary. I was actually really sad about this because he was so much fun to watch. But hey, JP was in good spirits when the reunion came around as he was happy to see number 7 and they were all good with each other. It was also during the reunion that everyone was just busting JP's balls by saying he was the one who looked most like what they expected, and lots of references to JP losing on Survivor. Val even said herself that JP was the only one she knew wouldn't win Solitary because he's lost on reality TV before. So uncalled for, but again, really funny, and JP took the jokes well.
You have a long history of losing reality programs.
Damn, what a journey though. Even though none of this has to do with Survivor Vanuatu, this low-key just adds to the lore of the season and uplifts it even more for me. Knowing that JP of all people went on another show and was amazing on it. Who else is doing it like this? Now JP was a lot of fun on Solitary, but you know what's crazy? The journey of John Palyok is not over yet. We've gone through his time on Survivor and his time on Solitary, but JP still has some more reality TV left in him. In the next and last part of this series, I'll be going into the last bits of JP on reality TV. Again, who else on YouTube is bringing you this type of content? Who else is going through the reality TV journey and dedicating a playlist to a random Survivor pre-merger? This is the kind of unique content I love to make. Let me know down below if you ever watched Solitary before and what you think of it if you have. Also, let me know what else you'd like to see me talk about on this channel. Like the video, subscribe for more videos, and yeah, thank you for watching.